Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about novel writing, which is going to be a recurring theme on this channel, and this video is specifically about planning a novel. If you want to write a novel, do you need to make a plan before you start? No. Short video, great. Possibly I need to expand. So, to write a novel, you are looking at sitting down and writing somewhere in the ballpark of 80 to 90,000 words. That's a lot of words. How many words do you think that is? It's more than that. Somewhere in the middle, whether it's 20,000 words, 30,000 words, 50,000 words, there's a really strong risk that you are going to get seriously stuck and seriously bogged down. So, do you need to make a plan before you start writing to write a novel? No. Might it help you if you do make a plan? Yes, it absolutely might. And here are some of the pros of making a plan before you start writing. Well, the biggest I've just alluded to. You're hoping that if you sit down and work out what happens in your story, scene by scene before you start to write, that when you hit that point at 30,000 words or 40,000 words or 50,000 words, where without a plan you might run out of steam, you've got something to go back to. You've got a map of your route through the book. That means that you're not going to run out of things to write about. It also means that you're not going to run out of story, hopefully, before you get to the end of the book. If you sit down in advance and make a plan, hopefully that will mean that you definitely have enough plot and enough story to fill out 80 to 90,000 words. Aside from getting stuck or just not having enough story to fill out the number of words you're aiming to write, having a plan also stops your story from just getting away from you. So you set off to write a delightful rom-com set in a cafe on the Cornish coast, and without a plan, if you're anything like me, you may find that 30,000 words in, aliens have landed, there's been some sort of horrendous massacre, the police are involved, MI5 are involved, there are dragons, and it's all got away from you a bit. Having a plan hopefully stops that from happening. Let's flip that around. Right at the top, I did say you don't need a plan before you start to write a novel, and come closer, I have never planned a novel in my life. Sidebar. That's not actually true. I've written 2 novels in collaboration with another author, and both of those were planned in advance, largely to stop one of us killing off a character the other intended to use in the next chapter. But writing just on my own, I have never planned a novel. So it's totally possible to just sit down and write and hope for the best and get to a fully completed manuscript. The benefits of doing it that way is that you don't lose your creativity. To be a published author, you almost have to be operating in 3 different and distinct mindsets. You have your creative mindset when you're creating story, creating character, telling your tale. You then have your analytical mindset when you come to edit that story, and then right further down the line you have your business brain when you come to try and sell that story to a publisher or to readers. And as authors, as a published author, you have to be able to occupy all 3. And there is a danger if you overplan your story that you go into analytical brain too soon and you miss the exciting creative places that your story might take you to. So maybe you plan that perfect novel about the woman who moves to Cornwall and opens a cafe, and your plan looks delightful. But maybe the version where aliens and the police and MI5 and the massacre happen is a better book, and you don't necessarily want to close those doors too early. So sometimes a plan, rather than being an aid to help you write, can become something that puts the blinkers on and stops you from seeing the possibilities of what your story could become if you stayed in that playful, creative mindset a little bit longer and allowed your story to go wherever you felt led to write it in the moment. The real fundamental reason though that I don't plan isn't quite that, although it's related to that problem of not wanting to constrain your creative brain. The problem is that if I plan in detail, I've spent all my creativity on the plan, and I then have essentially no interest at all in actually writing the book. I know what happens, I know who all the people are, I know what their conflicts are going to be, I know how their stories are going to be resolved, and I have absolutely no inclination to sit down and spend the next 6, 8, 12, however long it is, weeks typing up the story that I've already told myself in post-it notes or on a spreadsheet. So who you are as an individual is a big deciding factor in terms of whether you should plan your stories before you start writing, or whether you should let yourself go with the creative flow. If you know that you need to hold on to that creativity to give you the motivation to actually write the story, don't constrain it too much, don't take it out of the equation by spending all your creativity making a plan. The final little asterisk on the question of whether planning is a good idea or not, the final little caution, is that you should never let planning your novel become a procrastination tool to stop you actually writing the novel. You can always plan more, you can always perfect your plan a bit more, but at some point, if you're going to write a book, you do need to write the book. So, planning works for some people, really doesn't work for others. If you're going to make a plan, how might you go about it? Well, the key thing for plan is that it's going to give you an overview of the whole story of the novel in one place. If I do plan, and I tend not to do this up front, I tend to only do this after I've written a first draft and I'm planning how to edit it. But at that stage, if I'm going to do that at all, I do it using post-it notes, actual physical old-fashioned post-it notes. For me, something about the tactile process of writing a scene description on each post-it note, sticking them on my board, being able to move them around, that works for the way that my brain works. You can do exactly the same thing using a sticky notes app on computer. If you use Scrivener, which is a program specifically designed for novel writing, that has a corkboard feature that essentially allows you to do that on the computer screen, integrated with your novel manuscript. Or you can use a spreadsheet. However you choose to do it is absolutely fine. But the key thing is that you're going to have one post-it note cell in your spreadsheet, whatever it is, that represents each scene most likely in your novel, and that's then going to allow you to change scenes, move scenes around. If you plan something out and you don't like it, at this stage you can delete it, put something else in instead, see what knock-on effect that has to the rest of the story. Post-it notes are particularly great for this because they come in so many different colours, so you can have different colours for different point of view characters, you can have different colours for different plots and subplots, and that allows you to stand back and make sure that you've got a balance through your story. So if you've got multiple point of view characters, have you forgotten about one? Do they all appear all the way through the story? If you have got multiple plots or subplots, does each plot or each timeline recur throughout the story in a nicely paced, nicely spaced out way? So doing it with post-it notes or spreadsheets, something that you can colour code, gives you a really quick visual clue for that. So that's some really quick approaches to planning a novel. But the bottom line is this: should you plan your novel? If you find it helpful. If you don't, then no. So this is the sort of stuff that I'm going to be talking about on this channel. I've mentioned lots of things there already. Writing a novel, editing a novel, trying to sell a novel. I've talked about the sort of rough word length that you're aiming for writing a novel. If there's anything I've mentioned that you'd like me to talk about more in a future video, please pop it in the comments. If there is anything at all that you would like to ask about novel writing, about the publishing industry, about editing a novel, anything at all in that area, again, please pop it in the comments. There's going to be videos every week, so in the meantime, please subscribe to the channel, ring that bell so you get notifications when there's new videos, and I will see you next week.